So what do you do for oiling up? A little bit of oil on a cloth and just rub it in. Nothing complicated. Just make sure you get it worked well into the grooves where the handles fit. Do the same on the grooves of the handles themselves. See, cover the handles, and that's all there is to it. So we've had these soaking in the oil. I've drained out most of the oil from these jars and rubbed in the excess into the end of the snuff. And now we're going to look at replacing the collar and the cover and putting everything back together and storing it over the winter. So the first thing we're going to do is put the little metal collars back on. We've got the little tacks saved, and it's just a case of popping those over and tapping the tacks back in. But I sort of pinch them in place so they're nice and tight. That's as simple as that. There we go. And it's the same thing really with the collars. You want them nice and tight up, don't want them too low down. Again, you want that wrapped in nice and tight, because if it's too loose you're going to get stuff jammed in between the collar and the wood, grass, etc., and that'll just make it go damp quicker, which is not good. So as you can see, it's a fairly straightforward process, the dismantling and the building. So that's wrapped in nice and tight around there. So nice and tight. If you look down the gaps and things, there shouldn't be too much of a gap down any of these seams. That looks good. And then it's just a case of reattaching the handles if you want to. I mean, I always say it's a good idea to have it set up so that come the spring, when it's time to start mowing stuff again, it's ready just to grab it off the shelf and get straight out there and mow. Getting these back in place, so you remember we lubricated all these up so the threads work nice and well, and we've got to get these in, so that's got to line up with that when you put that in there, which you can either do by sort of nipping it either side and twisting it a bit, or of course there's a little notch there for a screwdriver to go in and you can twist it. Easiest way to test it is put the bolt in and see if it screws in, which it does, so you know you've got it right, and then get it set up on your snuff. So the usual giveaway is the mark on the wood where the wash has been all summer. So push that through first, and then you can find the hole in the handle to push that through. Squeeze it in up against the snuff and then start turning, and there you see it's held in place. Nice and tight, that's the way you want it. Top handle. So again, remember when you're taking those nuts and washers off, try not to drop them. Pop that through the handle. tap in, and again you can see where this has lived. Once that's tapped through, again you can see where this has spent its life. Up to there, wash her in. And take your time not to thread these nuts. Same again. Nice and tight. So that's not going to shift around. And there we go. And all there is to do is attach whatever blade you use for the particular scythe. Another thing I like to do is just attach the D-rings to the snaths, not necessarily with a blade attached as well, because I'm chopping and changing blades all the time, but it's just so I know where all my D-rings are. Each snath has one attached. They're tightened up against the wood there, so I don't twist them in too tight. It's just firm enough to keep them in place, but not too tight that it's going to scar the wood. So I know that every snath has its own D-ring attached. The handles are all on these. They're all back together now. Just a D-ring to put on that one. And again, those threads work nice and easily because they've had a good clean up. And that's in place. So one of the other options of preserving the wood is to charcoal it, which is what I've done with a couple of my own snaths. And it's basically getting a blowtorch and just charring, just blowing flame over the wood until it starts to glow. It's a very ancient technique, Sao Shugi Ban, I believe it's called in the Far East. And it just means I don't have to go through the procedure I've gone through with these other oiled snaths. That is now charcoaled and preserved for life. So there's nothing more to do to that other than the occasional bit of sanding if it gets cut. Same stripped down procedure. You can see how nice it shows up the grain, but and make sure that in all the little flute holes and this hole in here, all of these all flamed through as well, so in those holes is all charred as well. And in the grooves it does tend to expand these grooves a little bit, so I did chisel out those grooves a little bit deeper and charred them again just so it sits in a bit better. Otherwise it's a really nice way of preserving the wood and making it stand out, and it's given it a lovely satin texture. Feels really good. A lot of people have commented on it in the training that I've done. The sort of the texture of the wood, how nice it is. So that is it. It's a slightly lengthier procedure than oiling, but the end result is you don't have to do anything else after that for 1,000 years.